people like me, a lot of people like me are more independent. They want to be independent, so I drive them to
make their own path.
Yeah, that's right. To endorse that idea, but that doesn't make us successful, right?
Yeah.
You want to do your own thing. That's not. It's like saying I want to be Mozart, right? I love music. I want to be Mozart. What does it get you to try the piano, but not to be Mozart, right? And entrepreneurship, the key is to be able to do product market fit. And so the attraction to be on your own is great, but then you have to have that talent or that skills to do the product market fit. And so that's the number one thing. Often I've observed in my career that some people are better than others at assessing people. For me, there's no question. For example, Steve Jobs, he could assess people he was surrounded with very strong people because he could assess who was strong, who was not. And I found the opposite. I found many times people who have climbed the ladder in the corporate world have not needed that talent to succeed. So you can be senior vice president at IBM and never proven that you're good at picking the right people, at assessing people, because you can climb the ladders. As a result, those who try to become entrepreneurs or just become one of the key executives in startups, they fail because in a startup is completely critical. You cannot carry an army of people to help you do the job. Youngest of a family of 5 kids, and I've bad memories of the dinner table, to be honest. A lot of people praise their parents and so on. Me personally, felt that often TV was on, which has given me an aversion about TV. There's no TV in my house. There are screens, but no TV. I did not find that we had this family time that it could be. So it's been a big focus of mine, now that I have my own kids, to make dinner a celebration. We get together as family time. We really cheers. My little daughter, when she was there, said, "Daddy, why do we always have to do cheers?" And I think some people are religious. They thank the Lord. This is not my case, so I think we're going to start by being grateful that we're together in this dinner.
That's great.
So, yeah.
So you do that at every meal? You do your cheers? That's fantastic.
Cheers.
I love it.
Right. We acknowledge, and we all start together. We acknowledge the beginning, the start of the nice family time together.
I love it. That's great. I haven't heard anybody with that response before. So no, I love it. So when you were growing up, would you say that you were exposed to entrepreneurialism? Did you have companies that you started, or I don't even want to call it companies, but were you the kid that started the lemonade stand or selling candy or anything like that, as you were growing up?
I wasn't. I grew up in Marseille, in the south of France, and I think if I had put a lemonade stand out in the street, people would have shot me. I don't know. It's just not something people did. So I had no clue about entrepreneurship. Marseille is not a town where there's a lot of tech. It's a port with a lot of more traditional industries. So I didn't even know it existed, but I did have the sense of adventure. And so if you could call it non-business entrepreneurship. So for example, when I was 13, I decided for the summer vacation, I'd go hitchhiking around the coast and play tennis tournaments. So with my brother, we picked up a tent, our rackets, a bunch of clothes, and we left. And we went town to town. Then the following year, I was old enough to have a little motorbike, a tiny little motorbike. And I did the same thing around an island called Corsica. So I went off for 3 or 4 weeks and we went on. So I had it in me that I wanted to do things differently. I wanted to try things people haven't tried. I wanted to explore. But that didn't turn into a business reality until much later. So I actually went to a school, Ecole Polytechnique in France, where you study math and science. So not at all, driven towards leadership. And quite the opposite, actually. I remember when I graduated from Ecole Polytechnique, somebody said it would be crazy to start your company now that you've done Ecole Polytechnique, because the career path open to you as so attractive that it makes no sense for you to take a risk like that. I didn't know better anyway, so I just continued my path. And what happened is that in the mid-90s, I decided that I wanted to travel. So obviously I love traveling, and I thought, but I don't want just to travel for vacation. I want to move to other countries. And I figured the best way to do it is to go to do an MBA in the US, because that would be my first move to a super interesting country. And then with that MBA, I'll have an international passport, so to speak, to go and get jobs in other places. And my next place was going to be Hong Kong. I just wanted to go to Hong Kong. So I implemented the plan. I tried hard. I actually applied 3 times to Stanford Business School. And the third time, they finally accepted me. So I went there, and with the plan to have 2 years of fun and then go to Hong Kong. And then a few weeks into it, my classmate, Steve Jefferson, who's now a famous venture capitalist, invited Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs came to talk to the class. And at the time, he was running a company called Next. And the joke was that he was taking it next to nowhere.
Okay. Yep.
It was just not happening. But
and that was after he was removed from Apple too, right?
That's correct. That was after he was removed from Apple. So it was kind of his revenge. He was going to do an Apple killer. Yeah. And that was called Next. And so it was late 93, and he was completely struggling with that Next company. So he sat on the floor. He started talking about how hard it was. The journalists kept going after bad news, and yet it was so inspirational. I looked at him and say, "That's what I want to be when I grow up. You know, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be this guy who just creates something because he thinks it's the right thing to do, and go and build it and make it happen." So that day I changed my plans and said, there's no Hong Kong anymore. And to these days, I've never been to Hong Kong. I've been to like 55 countries, but never to Hong Kong. I stayed in the Bay Area and I started a company. And as fate would have it, my partner in my first company, it's just complete coincidence, was John Sculley, the person who had fired Steve Jobs. So it was interesting because when I talked to John, he told me all the stories we had heard, were true. That Steve Jobs had told him, "Are you going to continue selling sugar water? Or are you going to change the world with me?" The battles and things. So I started that first company, and then I've been doing tech companies ever since.
And how many tech companies have you done now?
So this is my 4th and 5th. Because we're going to discuss, I have 2 running right now. So I've done 3 before, and this is my 4th and 5th. I did one immediately in the 90s, then one immediately after, then one in the early 2000s. Then I thought so I had a couple of successful exits, and then I thought, okay, well, when entrepreneurs grow up, they become venture capitalists. So I thought I'd become a venture capitalist. And I tried it for a couple of years, and I got super bored. So I said, that's not for me. So
you're a maker.
Exactly. Yeah, a maker. It was just too tempting to go and do it. So I took a break. I did some other things, and then say, okay, no, it's go back to building businesses.
That must have really been an inspirational meeting session with Steve Jobs. I mean, he really, transformed your entire path, with that one meeting. That's fantastic.
But yeah, if you watch videos of Steve, he does have this transformative power. There's one big quote that I think I played it once a year. I go to that video and I play it, and he's saying, I realized something in my life that you guys should all know. When you look around, all these things that you see, they were all created by human beings just like you, no smarter than you. So if you think of it that way, you can realize you can just do the same. You can create your own things and bring your own print to life. And that seems, it's a very powerful statement, and it does have this ability to inspire us to do things differently. So when if you met him in person, it's even stronger, obviously. So yes, that had a strong influence.
I love it. I love it. So talk about some of the struggles that you had with the first company that you started, and then did you have similar struggles with the next companies, or did you kind of learn from the first times when you did it?
No, it's a bit like the quote from Tolstoy, right? Every unhappy family is unhappy, in its own way. So the struggle is always different from one to the other. The first company actually set my expectations incorrectly because things went quite well. Mm-hmm. It's been reasonably easy. Scully was on board, therefore I had funding. It was quite easy to get funding when you have John Scully with you. Mm-hmm. We built a product. It was Photoshop for Dummies at the time in the mid-90s. So if you think Instagram before phones existed, so Instagram on a PC. Mm-hmm. And of course, it was hard to build the product. And I remember times when I thought this is full of bugs. We're never going to get a product without bugs. It's important. Like it felt that it was not going to happen. But these were operational struggle. And when we were ready with the product, I quickly found that we would deal with hardware vendors. We would bundle our software with their device. Okay. And that turned out to be a big market, and they were very keen on doing it. So the selling was easy. My number one customer was Epson, the printer manufacturer, mm-hmm. But I also had Compaq, HP, Lexmark, Canon, all the top guys. And we do deals. The deal would be typically $500,000 we signed, and then next thing we'd get royalties for $500,000. Mm-hmm. So we did $6 million in revenue the first year.
Wow!
And I closed all the first deals. The second year, one day my controller called me and said, "Have we raised money?" I said, "No, we haven't raised money." Why do you say that? He said, "We just received a wire for $1.1 million. I said, "Let me look at it." And it was the royalties for 1 quarter.
Oh, wow.
For East Asia, Epson East Asia. They built this printer that sold like hotcakes. At the time it was about $30 million per printer. They'd sold 1.1 million printers. So we had $1.1 million. And that was like this magic of these OEM deals. So then we got an offer from a software company to buy us for $60 million. I was 2 years in existence. And Scully said no. He said, we can sell it for more. And at that time, what happened is that, so to answer your question, there was not much of a struggle. I mean, yes, we had bugs and things, but things went really easily. So at that time, I thought, you know what, I'm a minority holder because we had this, Scully, me, a few other people in this company. I've done it once. I know how to do it. By now it's 1998. We're in San Francisco. Everybody around me is doing internet, mm-hmm. right? And me, I'm printing CDs to put in boxes to sell at Walmart. And I'm thinking it's a bit antiquated. I need to move on. So I did a deal where I sold my shares. So basically, we didn't sell the company. I sold my shares. I took my money and I started a company, an internet company. And I decided to go after e-commerce, e-commerce enabled, so B2B. Just the opportunity I saw to commerce enable all these companies that were raising money. So then it started on fire. 13 months into it, I had 65 people. I had, tons of customers. I had some angel investors to put money with me. They said this is a joke. VCs put money in these companies, and then the money flows directly to us. It's like mm-hmm. Because they would say, "Oh, we need commerce." Yes, we do commerce. Oh, we're going to buy you a solution. So we ramped up super fast. And I thought it's even easier than the first time.
Mm.
And then I got a call from a whole bunch of companies. Something funny happened. I had the same day. Sometimes life is full of oddities. I got an email in the morning from Amazon saying, "Hey, we see that you connect to our website, the merchant site. This infringes on our terms. You have to stop immediately."
Mm-hmm.
So cease and desist. In the afternoon, I get an email from Amazon Corporate Development. "Hey, we love what you do. We'd like you to come to Seattle to talk to us." So basically what I was doing was aggregating e-commerce, and it was really good, a good idea for the corporate development people, but less for the merchant side where
Mm-hmm.
we were. So I did fly to Seattle. I also drove down to Mountain View to meet Yahoo.
Mm-hmm.
I crossed the street in San Francisco to meet CNET. Everybody wanted to buy my company.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, CNET came through. They made an offer for $60 million. I said yes. I had 72% of the company,
Mm-hmm.
and the deal didn't close.
Mm.
The dot bomb happened. By
Mm-hmm.
then, it was 2001. Everything collapsed. They had the thing were not binding yet, and everybody disappeared. So then I had to lay off half the company on a single day.
Wow.
Yeah. So each company has its own struggle. So that was one of them. A single day, of Friday, the funding had dried out. My customers were going under one after the other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then finally I sold that company to Microsoft, and Microsoft played it really well, where they waited and waited and waited and waited. As I could say, I was like the price kept going down as I waited.
Yeah.
So that was super painful. Like we went from 65 in the end, and at the end when Microsoft finally bought the company, it was 16 of us.
Okay.
1/6, right? So it was. So that was a very tough experience. But the struggle was at the end. Usually you get the struggle at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Then next I did a biometrics company a bit later because somebody had invented the technology. And that one said, you know what, this time I'm not going to miss the exit. So we went from incorporation to exit in 13 months.
Wow.
It was a very strong technology. My partner was the inventor. As soon as it worked, I went to the Department of Homeland Security. I said, "You've got this amazing technology." The guy says, "Who are you?" I say, "We're a startup." "Okay, well, you should talk to this big company." He called the CEO. He said, "You should talk to this startup." The CEO got the message. Our technology was amazing. He made a deal. He said, "Look, we make a deal. You get a few $1 million. And then if we close the deal with DHS, then you get twice as much again."
Mm-hmm.
And said, "Let's do it." And that's what happened. We got the deal, and then we closed the deal with DHS. So the technology that my partner had invented is now used to process every passport and visa application. So
wow.
when you go to the, of course it has evolved. Yeah. When you come back from the border, you look at the camera and boom, it recognizes you.
Yeah.
That's our technology. That's our technology was that's a more recent version, the evolution of our technologies that we did with the company. So that was super satisfying, right? System succeed, and that's when I started to become a VC.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did some other things also with a chip on my shoulder that I had not reached the level in tennis. I mentioned I toured in tennis that I thought that was worth. So at age 40 or something, I decided to go back and play tennis.
Okay.
And improve my game. But it's funny. Some people say, "Oh, you work hard when you're young, and when you get older, you have no money when you're young. You have no money, no time." And then anyway, so I did that. I took a bunch of time off to do different things. So then when I started the new company that I'm currently doing, so I'm doing two companies, and I explain why. But the first one is called Chili Pepper. We know 42 people, but they didn't happen in one throw. I actually started another company earlier in the same space. So the idea, we help salespeople. I really wanted to do tech to help salespeople because I thought, Salesforce is mainly viewed by salespeople as an impediment to their job, not a helper.
Right.
And so I thought, the number one problem, I was running a sales team for a friend of mine, and I couldn't get them to update Salesforce. So I thought, okay, I'm going to build an intelligent system that goes into their email, contacts, phone, find the information, and update Salesforce automatically. So I started a company to do that, and I was very excited. I built the solution. Then I found that a company in Israel had the same idea. Mm-hmm. And then a company in San Francisco had the same idea. And that company in San Francisco was a company called Relate IQ. And they thought it's so important to build this intelligent system to update the CRM, that the CRM is commoditized. We're going to build our own CRM and go against Salesforce.
Okay.
And I thought that seemed crazy to me, right?
Yeah.
To say, look, I understand it's a good thing to auto-update, auto-capture, auto-update, but the CRM is a beast, and it shouldn't have. But they sold their dream really, really well. They got money from Axel and Kleiner Perkins, and they started making a lot of noise. In the meantime, Salesforce decided to buy my Israeli competitor.
Okay.
So I thought, oh, that's trouble. Mm-hmm. And then Mark Benioff, the founder of Salesforce, a few months later decided to buy Relate IQ and say,
so he's gobbling up everybody.
Yeah. So then right. So except me. So it's like I felt like the ugly chap on the dance floor, was left alone on his chair. And my angel investors told me, Nicolas, you have to give up. I mean, you cannot assume that Salesforce is going to screw up. They spent $400 million for Relate IQ and $30 million for the other one. For $430 million worth of acquisition, you're dead. So, so that qualifies as a struggle.
Yeah, just a bit, yeah.
For sure, it was very hard. Fortunately, at the time, my wife, Alina, was doing a brilliant career in product development. She was at Pearson, running a big chunk of product. And before that, she was at Bloomberg. She was getting tired of the corporate life. She said, look, I want you to do a startup. And I said, well, how about you come with me? We do it together, and you put your energy and we restart. Mm-hmm. We stay in the same space and we go after a different angle. Mm-hmm. And so we did that. We renamed the company Chili Pepper. It was January 2016, and we went after a completely different problem. The problem we go after at Chili Pepper is very simple. B2B companies spend a lot of money bringing traffic to their website. Mm-hmm. Then the call to action is contact us or request a demo. So a prospect fills a form, they click submit, and they get a thank you page. Thank you, somebody's going to call you. And then mm-hmm. they're left wondering, well, who is going to call me and when? Mm-hmm. And in that process, companies typically lose 60% of their leads. Right. So, and I had people tell me, oh, we convert super well. Oh yeah, what do you convert? We convert that 40%. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, so you mean to say that out of 60 people who've asked to meet you, out of 100 people who asked to meet you, you've lost 60 and you think it's great.
Yeah.
And the reason why I thought it's great, because it seems insane, is because they're called that process inbound. And there's an outbound process. In the outbound process, you reach out to 100 people and you're lucky if you have 2 meetings.
Yep, exactly. Right? Yep.
So 40 seems so good. And it's amazing. It's a big lesson of life is we human beings work with reference points, which is relative. So 40 is great because the alternative is 2%.
Exactly.
Therefore you don't touch it. So we decided to engineer a solution for this problem. It was actually technically challenging to integrate with that form. But what we do is that when the form is submitted in real time, we take the data, we qualify the prospect, make sure it's a qualified prospect. We find the rep who should be handling that prospect. We dial the rep, we dial the prospect, they're in contact. Or we retrieve the calendar, we bring it to booking, and they can book. We launched it, we did an A/B test with a company, a prospect. They found that we doubled the conversion rates.
Wow.
Right? So typically they go from 40 to 80. Mm-hmm. And that got us in business. So from there, then we just had to educate the market that the old way of doing things is nonsensical and that you go there. So, that was our second attempt to take off. I do feel that startups are like airplanes. Eventually you feel you're getting some lift, and then boom, you take off. So this is not taken off. We have 40 people. We bootstrapped actually, so we went to, we did annual deal up front, and we keep growing. Now we're going to extend to other products. It's a different world when you have 40 people and you have resources to do different things. But in the meantime, when we were in the middle, or more recently, in the middle of this growth, I found myself frustrated in a way that I thought I was not as productive as I should be. Mm-hmm. And the symptom was that I captured everything I had to do in a to-do list, and my to-do list was diverging. Mm-hmm. So by that I mean I wasn't catching up with it. So there was more and more life of its own when it increases. And so I figured, okay, there's got to be a way to do that better, and that's the thing. Maybe that's the nature of the people who are tempted by entrepreneurship, is that whenever they see a problem, they think they should solve it, right? Mm-hmm. They don't wish somebody would solve it, they think we should solve it. So that's what happened. I said, I'm going to solve that problem. I had a super smart engineer with me who was an intern. Mm-hmm. He had done an internship at Facebook AI, and he was interning with us at Chili Pepper. I said, how about we start a company together and we solve that problem? So it's called, the company called GipsyTime. It's a play because my wife Alina is Romanian, and I tease her that she's a gypsy. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to do a new twist on to-do list by focusing it on achieving, so getting things done. So not only listing the task you have to do, but actually doing the task you have to do.
Okay.
And so we have already, we have a live version right now that we released very recently, where the first step we do in helping you achieve your work is the ability to close all the tabs and close Slack. Mm-hmm. Automatically. So you say, I'm going to focus, we close all the tabs, we don't let you reopen new, or we do let you, but we say, are you sure you want to open a new tab? We put you on pause in Slack with block notifications, and you can focus. So that's the first step, is to help people focus. So that has turned out to be working really well for me. Like I can just close the task and focus, and then it reopens my tab and then restart. So that's it's a great thing. And we have other ideas on what other problems why people don't get to their tasks. Yeah, how we could help them get to their tasks. So we're experimenting, but it's a very interesting step, because I would say that plane hasn't taken off yet, right? Okay. We're still on the tarmac, and
it's getting there.
Yeah, well, we have our seatbelt on, meaning we're ready.
Might have mechanical issues yet still, right? You
so
don't know.
Far, we're listening to the noise. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it seems okay. We're not getting signals from air traffic control yet. They're not giving us clear signal that we ready for the pathway. So it's a very interesting situation, because it reminds me, of the struggle that it can be basically to establish product market fit. Mm-hmm. With Chili Pepper, the first one, when they first started and they did this automatic capture, it was a hypothesis that would be, but I had the problem, and that other people would find it helpful, and it turned out to be correct. Like it's just a smarter way to do it. The second one, when that form thing, it was very clearly confirmed, right? You had a measure, which is conversion rate, and you double the conversion rate. So we can go to market and say, listen, are you interested in getting twice as much pipeline from the same dollar spent on marketing? The answer is likely to be yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's
And
a
you get
hard
it.
sale there.
Yeah. Whereas with GipsyTime, say, hey, we're going to help you do your task. Is that helpful? That's much more subjective.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, yes, it's helped me to to close my tabs. No, it doesn't help me so much. I like it. I don't like it. So it's a very interesting project from that respect, because it's very much user experience driven. So we're trying to find little details that make it a better alternative to the currencies alternatives. And that's a key thing. We have a segment of people where the busy people, they have a goal which is to get things done, and we're trying to give them a better alternative. But it's a very subtle thing, because everybody is at their own evaluation of what's a good alternative. If it's, again, the inbound, say, look, it converts twice as much, is not your own evaluation, it's what it is. But if it's how productive you are at the end of the day, then there's a lot of subjectivity in how you've done it. So we're in the middle of that, and it's a fascinating project. I think, it's Mark Andreessen from Entrepreneur Read said, there's only one problem with startups is product market fit, right? If you have it, and so that's, we're in the middle of that product market fit. I can see often people, think, what does it take to be an entrepreneur? And there's no question that people like me, a lot of people like me are more independent. They want to be independent, so I'll drive them to
make their own path.
Yeah, that's right. To endorse that idea, but that doesn't make us successful, right?
Yeah.
You want to do your own thing. That's not. It's like saying, I want to be Mozart, right? I love music. I want to be Mozart. What does it get you to try the piano, but not to be Mozart, right? And entrepreneurship, the key is to be able to do product market fit. And so the attraction to be on your own is great, but then you have to have that talent or that skills to do the product market fit. And so that's the number one thing. Often, when I hear people say, I really want to start my own company, I say, well, there is a core skill and talent, which is to be able to find something that does product market fit. And unfortunately, you won't know if you have it until you try. So, right? So
yeah, it's absolutely true. Yeah, and that's actually funny that you mentioned that, because I was actually going to ask you, what is one of the common issues that you see other entrepreneurs making, and that makes perfect sense. They don't get a product market fit there.
Yeah, so you hear people, it happens very often. I say, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I'd like your advice. And I try to take these calls and help. And they come up and say, well, this idea is that, like I had the other day, I say, to work remotely, I'm going to do a device that people have a more instant connection. And you think, what evidence do you have that the current solution is problematic, right? And what evidence do you have that this is a better solution? And what problem your solution is bringing? And how do they compare that? But typically, people who start companies don't do that. They just think, I think we should do this solution to get instant view with the other. It'd be so cool. Imagine you press a button, you see the other. That doesn't. That's not how it works, right? It's not what's cool. You have to think through what is the goal that you're trying to serve, and what are the current alternatives, and what are the problems with the current alternatives, and how is your solution solving these problems and not creating new problems. And that whole process is actually, you think that everybody can do it. It's like simple. You just have to think, am I doing something better? But it doesn't work that way. There's some people, we get it. If you take Bezos, the guy, he picks a space, he just finds the problem with that space and the solution for that space, right? So it's the reason why he's the richest man in the world is that he has this talent of product market fit, even, in my opinion, even more than Steve Jobs, because Steve Jobs invented beautiful devices, but he didn't solve as many problems as Bezos is solving.
Yeah, no, he's a machine for sure.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a lot of your success has been focused on the people that you had around you. You've mentioned basically in each one of your stories how you had this great developer that you latched onto, and actually another developer that you had as an intern. Do you have any quick techniques that you might be able to share for attracting that talent? Is that kind of what you were doing? Were you actually the ones, or were you actually involved in selecting who was going to work on your projects? And then once they were there, how did you say, yeah, this guy's got it. This is great.
So yes, I was the one who was involved to get somebody in the project. And every time was different. It's true what you pointed out. My second company, I didn't mention it, but I had another intern who became my CTO because he was so talented, and he was the core partner. So you're right. Every time there was a co-founder with a particular talent.
So was that just a spark, maybe that you had with them?
Well, I'll tell you, you could think that. It's something needed. When you start something, there's a lot of data showing that starting a company on your own is very hard, and the odds of success are much higher if you're 2 or 3, and then above 3 the other way around is start big executive. So having somebody else who think, and but to your question, which is there a technique to identify the other person and another technique to keep them on board? Unfortunately, I don't think there is a technique. I think I've observed in my career that some people are better than others at assessing people. Mm-hmm. For me, there's no question. For example, Steve Jobs, he could assess people he was surrounded with very strong people because he could assess who was strong, who was not. And I found the opposite. I found many times people who have climbed the ladder in the corporate world have not needed that talent to succeed. So you can be senior vice president at IBM and never proven that you're good at picking the right people, at assessing people, because you can climb the ladders. As a result, those who try to become entrepreneurs or just become one of the key executives in startups, they fail because in a startup is completely critical. You cannot carry an army of people to help you do the job. And I have to conclude that it's a talent that some people have and some people don't have. Mm-hmm. And yes, you can. And this one is very hard. I don't know how to improve it. I mean, how to assess people. I'm a big believer. I read the book called by Carol Dweck. I think it's called The Growth Mindset. That's right, The Growth Mindset. Yep. The whole idea that we shouldn't have this idea of talent. Everybody can learn everything. You can help. And I'm a big believer in the fact that you can help people grow, absolutely. But I'm also a big believer in talent. I mean, I do think that Roger Federer is at a level that would be hard for me to achieve, even if I go back to he's got something that I don't have that dates back from his birth. And for that piece, I think it's the same thing. Some people are much better than others at assessing talent. My track record shows that I'm fortunate to be on the better side, that I've been able to pick the right people. But it's interesting because at Chili Piper, when I tried to hire in marketing, for example, I had less experience in B2B marketing. I just had done it before. So in spite of my self-professed talent, I struggled to find the right people. It took me several tries. But at least I knew. When I failed, I knew. So I didn't have the illusion that they're the right person. I put the person on a job and I can assess that he or she is not doing the right thing. So it's difficult, but I do think it's a talent. So that's the first part of your question. The second part is how do you get them interested or excited? And I think there are two things. So if the project itself is exciting, I think most people find it the number one reason why they would do something. Like if you come on board with me and I'm telling you we're going to reinvent the to-do list and do something so much better, and you start working on it, it's likely that you'll get excited and look for it. So if you have a good project, then it's likely that the people will come on board. And then there's this additional personal twist, right? That people enjoy working with you, and so that I pay a lot of attention to. Is something that helps me, that I love people, and I love developing people. I think people sense it. Right? I remember I have a friend who started a company, and he said, the business is booming, it's great, I'm happy. There's only one thing that I don't like is I have to deal with all these employees. I hate it, right? Yeah. And he says, I get in the elevator in the morning and boom, there are a bunch of them, and I think, what am I going to tell them? So we're not all the same. There are some people who dread these relationships. And obviously, it makes it harder for them to attract and keep talent. Me, I'm the opposite. If I meet people in the elevator, I would actually press the button to the top floor to have more time in the elevator. So I think people do that. But for sure, as soon as you start having people, you want to, whether you enjoy it or not, you have to have a goal of developing your people. Yeah, and because they'll feel it. You have to be thinking, I'm here to help them grow professionally. That's kind of our contract. They come and give their energy to the company, and the contract is that they progress, they improve, because that's the number one motive. The two things that matter in the research on job motivation is autonomy, so not being micromanaged, and progress, the ability to progress. So you have to provide these two things, and whether you like people or not, it has to be part of the thing. So that's a long answer to your question on how to find the right people and then motivate them to continue.
I love it. Yeah, this has been fantastic, Nicolas. If people want to get in touch with you or learn more about your products, what would you say is the best way?
Well, I do want a lot of people to come try GipsyTime and give us feedback, right? Because this is we entrepreneurs should have solidarity in helping each other. As I mentioned. So right now we're in this product market fit research stage. And it's very helpful for us to have people try our product and say we like it. So the app is called GipsyTime. Gipsy is a tricky word because there are many spelling with I and Y, right? So I went to Shakespeare and it's spelled GIPSY, Gipsy. GipsyTime.com. It's a super three-click sign up. And try our activity list and send me my feedback. I'm Nicolas, Nicolas at GipsyTime.com, and I really look forward to hearing from a lot of people.
Excellent. I appreciate it. Thanks, Nicolas.
Sure, thank you.